Hello everybody. Welcome to another update on the On Your Own video game. So this one is something that I've done this week. This is some of the work for the past few days, and yeah, let's get to it. One thing that I've always wanted to have in my project is kind of a silent weapon, right? Um, I've always loved the mechanics of bows, and not the stereo system, but like bow, like archery kind of stuff. And yeah, here it is. Um, the nice thing, I had a very good starting base with ALS because it already has a bow implemented. So now I've extended on that a little bit, and there's the bow. You can equip it. One thing that I just started implementing just now is that counter at the top that it tells you how many arrows you have left. So that's something that we're gonna do during the stream. And also the other thing is I wanted to convey the fact that you're taking damage, and that's why the edges of the screen are red, because I'm just testing with that post-process material. And we'll probably take a look at that as well. It's if you're interested, it's out of the Chameleon pack. Not sure if it's still free on the marketplace, but I got it for free when it was. But now, so this is not just the fact that you're like holding the arrow up, but let's put this guy down. So once you fire, you can cancel it. So just with the right click, you extend the bow, and at this point you can fire. And you um, when you want to cancel it, you just release the the right mouse button. So there you go. And if you keep it pressed, like the right mouse button, it would auto load. And of course, right now it's just it has just the default number with 10 because that's I just did it like 5 minutes before this. But yeah, this is how the bow works. Hopefully you like it. Hey, Tape Loops. Hey, finally. That's awesome. Good to have you. Yeah, and welcome. So this was it was a lot of fun. Yeah, no, I remember. Welcome. Um, yeah, it's been good times, with CryEngine. But again, you have to evolve, I guess. So doing this in CryEngine, you know what? I am not entirely sure. I mean, it's possible. I've seen people do it, totally. But yeah, as a one-person shop, it's out of my reach, I would think. I'm not sure. I just didn't delve that much into it. But but yeah, it's not sure when you last joined the stream, and how much of the more recent updates you've seen. Let me know and I can show you some of them. But first, let me what I wanted to do is so I don't get off track here. At least I wanted to get the bow little widget that shows how many arrows you have left implemented. So yeah, here it is. It's very basic. Um, there's the little text box. So I'm gonna set that to a variable. So I'm just gonna call this. Oh, awesome! That's great. So this is the ammo count here. Yeah, hopefully you like what's going on with the project and how progress is going. Again, it's a passion project. It's not. I wish it was full time. I would have probably made a lot more progress. But I guess you gotta think of the slow and steady wins the race to make you feel better. But that's how I look at things. So yeah. Okay, so in here I'm just gonna create a quick, not a graph, but maybe just system event to update ammo count. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, appreciate it. So this has got to be a text. Alright, so now since this is attached to the bow, I'm just gonna, wherever I'm like decreasing the clip size here, and actually at the beginning I would have to say and let's see, this should actually be in the in here. So where I spawn the bow, I'm setting it as the main weapon, I'm attaching it to hand. And actually I can use this interface where I implement the unholster weapon to just cause some things to happen in here. So in this case is just delaying it, or I just had a basic delay. But what I can do is I can drag in the ammo widget. The only thing with these is, to my knowledge, is that you have to cast to that or actually let me see, I think it was where was that? How do you access this one? So you gotta get the widget user object, or get user widget object, and then this one you can cast to the to your particular class, and this is the web or count or something. I can WB weapon count. Let's see, count. I like the fact that you can just search for them like that. So, and then now I can call the what did I call it? Update ammo count or something? Ammo count. Update ammo count. There we go. And then we can set this to my clip size. Alright, let's see how that works in here before I start shooting. So and there you go, we have 20, which is the clip size for the bow. So now when I fire, I'm gonna set that to another value. Let's do that. So, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm also going to promote this to a variable, because when I unholster it I only want to call it then, so I don't want to cast a bunch of times, even though it's not like on tick, it's just whenever you fire. So this one I'm going to promote to a variable, and so I'm going to, I think ammo count is going to make sense. And from here, just at the beginning, I'm going to update the ammo count like that. And now when I fire, which is down here, I'm going to just grab the ammo count and then update ammo count to the new value of clip size. Here. Alright, let's see how that works. So it says 20. Let me make this full screen. There you go, 19, 18, 17, 16. Alright, so yeah, that was, I'm actually recycling the little, what do you call it, screen from the walkie. So that's what I'm using there. The one thing that I'm probably going to need to edit is the, it looks a little odd The kind of I've made some changes to the oops, and I lost the arrow. What the heck? Um, to the crouch hand orientation. You know, like I've shown in the previous videos, where you have like the aim sweep with ALS, and so yeah, these look perfect when you're in like when you're standing, but then when you're crouching, I made a little bit of a change, and it's kind of looks a little off right now. It's just it the fist overlaps the crosshair, so it just looks a little odd. But let's take care of that, dude. And so yeah, now you can fire all these off. So they also have a force, right? So it would impact all the dynamic objects. So like this guy here, if I shoot him with the arrow, right now it's got a little bit too much of a kick, so it's just that's a little too much. But yeah. And forgot to mention, if anybody's interested in the bow, well, this is not the original one, but if you're interested, there's like this one I got off of Sketchfab, and let me see if I can find it, and because I want to share that with you. It's a really good looking bow, and hopefully I'm not sure what's going on with Sketchfab, but it's just bogging down my computer like heavily. I'm not sure if it's the site, or they've always had issues with like resetting passwords, at least for me. Not sure if anybody else is running into that, but yeah, I just wanted to share where I'm getting the bow from, because it's a really well done mesh. The textures, you know, I've helped them with I'll show you how it started and how it ended, kind of thing. So let's see, where is that? It's this one down here. So if you're interested in a really good looking bow, and that also has it has skeleton. So while I had to create the animation, you know, when you pull the bow, this one is nice that it has the skeleton already with it. So you know, by Sencor, and this one, it's already looking really good to start with. But I just wanted to have something that you know, it's a really good looking mesh. So I'm gonna close Sketchfab because I'm not sure if it's Chrome that deals with that very poorly or what it is, but it just gives me some trouble. But yeah, and this is how it turned out in Mixer. You know, I had to do a high poly to low poly bake, and then you know, kind of created a ID map, and you know, added some decals just to kind of spruce it up a little bit, and that's what I ended up with for the bow, because you know, especially it's a first-person weapon, so you see it up close, and here it is. Yeah. Oh, and thank you. Well, the ground is also Quixel Mixer, and it's literally, this one is one layer. So I think if I wanted to, you know, there's definitely much better setups out there. This Nordic conifer biome that I use, especially, I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep the current setup, you know, with the ground textures. They're pretty complex, so you know, kind of a little bit bigger shader contribution, and it doesn't have RVTs. So this terrain that I have here does have a runtime virtual texture, so you know, you can get stuff like that when you blend this in. So there it is. You know, you can't really tell where the tree ends and where the ground begins, so that's nice to not have that you know, that kind of hard line area. So that's cool. I'm happy with this setup for terrain. On the flip side, there is no there's the issue that I don't really have any grass maps. I mean, those can be easily added. I think I've done it in one tutorial. But but yeah, so this one right now, if I was to show you some of the other layers, um, so there's like a mix. So I have a layer that's a mix between the two based on like I think they call it like a heat map or a splat map kind of thing. But yeah, some of the other layers. Let's see. Hopefully, this might have to compile some shaders because I haven't really painted on this. So let's see. Yeah. That was pretty quick. So this one is mixed with the leaves, I believe. So there's the leaves and there's the shaders. And since I have a barely functioning 4-core, it is gonna take a little bit to compile them. Yeah, so there you go. It's this layer. So I think for a forest they actually work out pretty nicely, but again, I'll have to take a look and see if I want to keep what's currently in that package or not. And then you can blend it in with this mossy ground. There's the wet ground. Oh, I had to do this, right? I don't really understand why it has to compile shaders when you paint the terrain, because these shaders have already been compiled, but there's those things that it just, if it works, right? Alright, so I need to cue some elevator music while this is happening. And yeah, the other thing that I mentioned at the beginning is the kind of the info that you're taking damage, right? The red outline, and oh man, I really need to upgrade my computer. I guess nowadays 5 years is like a millennia when it comes to uh, to the difference between what's currently available today and what was available 5 years ago. And I'll close out of Mixer as well, because this one's probably taking up a core as well. Oh, and another thing that I've been using recently, especially when it comes to Blender, is this Blender import plugin. If you haven't used it, I highly recommend it, because I was able to just save the blend file and literally import the blend file into Unreal. Yeah, you're quickly going out of date, exactly. So yeah, and see, this one is still. I thought it closed. Not sure why it's taking forever. There, it finally compiled. But yeah, so that's what's cool about this Blender import, is that I can right-click on this and just open in Blender. So which is, open in Blender, save it, and then re-import it. Of course, you can do the auto re-import. I just want to have control over that, so I want to import it when I want it to. So yeah, but yeah, and this is the other layer, and the rocky grass. Oh, not the rocky grass. Come on, you can do a little bit faster than that. Yeah, and there's the rocky grass as like the fifth, or actually not the fifth, because there's also, I also have like a dirt layer. So I'm guessing there it's a decent combo for forest terrain. Let's see, and actually I think I'm keeping this one for the kind of the cave, excavated dirt type areas. like around the bunker, some of the bunker areas, entrances. But but yeah, I think these kind of cover, at least for me, they seem to cover pretty well the needs. And one of the things that I like is that some of them have some pretty decent tessellation. So like the displacement when it comes to some of these, like especially the one that's kind of like the rocky ground and the leaves. I think the rocky grass also has some pretty decent. Yeah, that looks pretty good, I would say. And like I said, having having the runtime virtual texture definitely helps a lot with the blending. I'm not sure if I actually did it for this particular asset, because I had to change some of the developers shaders as well to match what I have for the terrain. Yeah. Well, so kind of just a little bit of showing that off a little bit. So let's take a look at the second part of what I wanted to do is with the little outline. This little you probably see it better there when it was like when the main UI was loading. But here, let me close in on something dark. So as you can see, there's like this little outline that tells you that you're taking damage, right? So it's a pretty good indication, especially since I wanted to have no UI, right? So um, the the bow has no UI. The I got to think of how I'm gonna do the pistol and the rifle to have no UI, right? Maybe once you I think I have a couple of animations where you can, unload the clip, like the magazine, and take a look at and see what's in it. So maybe at that point I can add the same thing that I have for the bow, like in this, have this little thing there where it says, 20, 25, and then, it would update once you shoot. So maybe that could be something that's useful, and it's trivial to implement, so it takes away, kind of, you don't have to have that um, the little widget on the side saying, you got 10 arrows left, 9 arrows left. So now it's just like right there on the bow. And of course you can, once you look down, you can see it there as well. But when you're firing, it's just showing up. So there it is. Okay, well, what I wanted to do is look at let's see, is it in here? Yeah, so in here. So basically, this material that I have for the post-process volume, and nope, I want it to be, oh, this is a group, I forgot. So the material that I have for the post-process volume, I've already added it to my main character's post-process. So this one has a few post-process materials. So one of them is kind of the eye shot when you potentially to be used when you die, because you can there's also the option that you can use a bed to replenish health, and also the gas mask, because that's going to tie into some of the scenario where you have to equip a gas mask. And now the screen damage kind of worked the same way. So if this one was to be set to 0, like for example, and if we were to look, where's that post-process volume? Here. So the post-process volume, now I need to just unlock this group for a little bit, so I can select the post-process volume. This one has a material as well for screen damage. So this one can, now it's completely off, and now it's on. So what I wanted to have is there's such thing called a collection. So the collection is and I'll show you what I did with that. Hopefully some of my transition to LSV4 I didn't lose any of that section of code. So you can have a collection in your material that you can control how this is displayed. So basically you can have a parameter that drives how much of this outline you get to see. So let's take a look at that. I know that I have set it up for the gas mask, so we'll take a look at the gas mask material. And again, this is a if you use the chameleon pack from the marketplace, you'll find all these materials in there. The only thing is, if you use it outside of the chameleon package, the chameleon package has it set up through a blueprint, and there's one node that I'm not making use of, and that is usually the set blending. So if you're taking this material and you apply it to your post-process volume, you might not be getting the same results as with the chameleon blueprint. That blueprint has the post-process material in it. So what I do, I just disconnect the set blending. But so what I did is there's my collection, and if we take a look at this collection here, there's a couple of parameters that I had set up. So one of them, and again, these are set up based on the particular way that I wanted to blend the in this case the gas mask, or it'd be like the outline for the damage. So in my case, what I ended up doing is setting up this what I called strengthened and mask on. Now I can't remember if they were like interchangeable, or they're basically the same. I can get rid of one of those, but I'll have to look into that, I guess. Oh, tape loops. Hey, yeah. So I still do quite a few of the modeling myself, but with the Unreal Marketplace being so big, I ended up being able to use quite a few of the assets off of the marketplace. The one thing that I do is I clear out the shaders, because it's a hodgepodge. You know, like there's a giant variety of shaders, because like every developer is going to build their own shader, right? And so what I ended up doing, I just kind of unify every asset under my own shader. The only ones that I don't is for like the natural assets, like the trees and all those assets that are usually have like a wind or like a pivot painter type of setup, and that part is a little bit over my skill level. But when it comes to just static assets, I just do the shaders myself. Now when it comes to modeling, there's a lot of stuff that I use off of the marketplace, and a lot of them that I just change myself, because like for example this door, right? This door, I think off of in the beginning was like this, so it ended up like this. This is not in that package, so I ended up, you know, cutting out the front of the door, you know, created the circular window thing, kind of moved around the keypad, added keypad in there. So yeah, I do a lot of the editing when it comes to assets that I feel that fit, and then I create a bunch of them, like, you know, this stuff here. Like this stuff is literally unique. So this one I created from scratch for some of the bunker areas, or corridors, let's call it that way. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a mix with I do make use of the marketplace, because that's what it's there for. And you know, probably the hardcore people that use the marketplace, they might be able to notice if they play the game, that and be able to tell that oh, you know what, this particular little box is from that one package, and that's, I'm fine with that. That's also the creators that make these things for the marketplace, they're awesome because you know it, they're I think they're the pricing is fair, so you get a lot for some of these packs. Of course, there's a bunch of duds as well in the marketplace, but the ones that are really worth it, they're really worth it. So I can highly recommend a bunch of them. Well, so let's get back to this. What I wanted to take a look at is in here. Let's see where my the material that I have for this is gonna be screen damage. So the screen damage, let's take a look at it real quick. So with this one, what happens is, you have the outline that's red. Let's see what happens if we change some of these. So this one kind of brings it up even stronger. So I guess this could be like a little pulsating thing. Could be once you're like really hurt, right? So and so this one, I think this particular value, this texture intensity, is the one that I'm looking for. So it kind of starts like this, it kind of bounces, and again we'll play around with these values to see where we want to be at. And so it'll be kind of this thing, bouncing a little stronger, and then once you take in even more damage, it kind of goes into here, right? So we'll play around, maybe create a timeline and see if that works. Alright, I haven't I'll have to be honest with you, I might be stumbling a little bit through this because I haven't looked at the the parameter, or not necessarily the parameter collection, but how to affect that particular collection. So I'll have to look and see exactly where this is referenced. So there might be a little bit of digging, but hopefully you'll bear with me. All right. Well, let's see. So what I wanted to do is the texture intensity, and I think in this case, yeah, let's tag that in here as well, just like I'm doing. Because I think that's why I ended up doing it like this with the parameter collection, because it was a lot easier to adjust to that. So I'm gonna copy this and let's bring it in here. So we have the texture intensity down here, and I'm gonna try and replace it with the parameter that I wanted to use. So in here, I'm gonna add another one, and I'm gonna call this texture. And I think I actually want it to be actually I didn't want it to be I want it to be a scalar. Not sure why that is there. Scalar and vector parameters, that's all. Oh, sorry. There's like scalar parameters and vector parameters, and by mistake I've just added a vector parameter. Alright, so I'm gonna delete this, and this number 2, this one's gonna be texture intensity. Alright, so save that, and we'll add it in here instead of this texture intensity. So what this gives you, you don't have to create like a dynamic material instance, to my knowledge, and you can just use this. And I think I might need to save this. I can't remember what it is, or did I not save the? I thought I did. Default value. I would have expected that one to show up in here. Let's try and bring it in one more time. There it is. I guess you just needed to reload the node. Alright, so texture intensity. And I think by default this was set up to that's the screen damage. Oh, so I've removed that. I think it was like 0.16 or something. Let's try and change it in here, 0.16. So I'm gonna drag this to the side where I have the collection. I want to play with that value a little bit and see if that changes what we get in here. It doesn't seem to like it very much. Get rid of this. I don't need that anymore. That either. So yeah, since I removed that that parameter, yeah. So see, changing the value, it affects it here. But not in the instance. So let me try and change the only thing is with the screen damage I have some different textures, so let me try and set that back to those default to those textures that I'm using. So the damage texture would be this one, and let's see, that would go in here like that. And what I want to do is in my post-process volume, instead of using the screen damage, I'm going to use the actual master one. So let's see, screen damage. There it is. So now we are getting something. And of course the other thing is that I also want to apply these parameters, because as you can see I wanted to have it right around the edge of the screen. So I want to apply these parameters here, the distortion value. Let's see, where's the distortion value in here? Distortion value, and set this to that. And then we have the edge, and the edge, we'll set it to this, and there it is. So we have it on the outer edge, and the fading, should we set to this, and I think the offset X, and let's see, what was the other one, offset X and Y. I'm gonna set these to 0. So offset X, this one, actually I don't even have it connected, so where is it? Offset X, oh there it is, offset X and offset Y, set it to 0 and set it to 0 so that it encompasses everything around the screen. Let's apply and save it. Hey Danielle, how are you? Alright, and now let's take a look and see what we get if we change the... There we go, that's better. So now what I'm doing is I'm just editing the that value in the parameter collection. So now I can just play around this value in either through a timeline or through something else, and I can affect that the main character player post-process volume. So let's do that. Especially especially when it takes damage. This is where I'm gonna touch on this on this parameter. Hey, are you even the llama? Hello, hello, and welcome. How are you? Alright, and actually this is something I played around with. It's kind of cool with the physical animations. I'm still not quite there yet, so I'll show it when I have something to show. But it's a little bit of a, testing some things. I was actually able to get hit reactions. Like the main character was like kind of bouncing back when it was hit by a bullet and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. It's just not quite there yet. Alright, well, let me take a look and see exactly where this post-process blueprint is referenced, because I can't remember exactly what node am I using to actually access this and change it. So I'll take a look real quick. I think it's in one of the older blueprints, and IMAS collection. Wow, there's a lot of collections here. So post. Yeah, there we go. So let's see if we can find some references, or who exactly is using this particular item. Oh, and I guess I already have it somewhere in here. Huh, let's see. Where is it? Oh, maybe oh, there it is. So this is the cool part about it. You can just get this set scalar parameter value, and you can run it on a timeline, and you can get the little, like I was showing you, the little red outline to just flash and kind of tell you that, oh, hey, you're in trouble. And now this one, I believe, I think I might need to reload it or set this again, because I can't see this parameter that I've just set up. But I have a few functions that I've set up already, which is great. I couldn't remember if I copied these from the old ALS v3 version. So what's gonna happen is, let's create a yeah, so like I said, beds, menu transitions, and so on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab actually create a new event, and this would be maybe take damage. And it's cool to have it in, because you have it in the main character, because this one already have like a player stats implemented with it. So based on the values that come from the player stats, you can tell that collection that, okay, you know what, it dropped under a certain level. I mean, this would apply to any of you if you have some sort of a player statistics. So below a certain level, then just go ahead and make that screen flash faster. So based on the taking damage. So take damage would happen once, you can call it when you on event hit, if you use like a projectile type system or anything like that. Alright, so on take damage, what I want to do is, let's play around with, I'm gonna just grab this timeline from here because it's already in there. I'm not entirely sure what it is, and So this one you can always set it to loop, so it can play, and you can have this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, and then this one I'm going to set it to time of 2 all the way at the end of it, and the value of 0. So actually I guess this one was set to -1, but this is from the old. So what I'm hoping for, that it's just going to be like a sinus curve, right? It's just going to go in and out once it plays on loop. So we'll see, just kind of prototyping right now and see what's happening, what's going to happen to it. But there it is. So I guess I just needed to copy it, and so that it really reloads once what do you have inside of that material collection. Alright, so now on take damage, I want to, yeah, well, when you get hit, I want to take damage, right? So since right now the enemy only has is only firing with a pistol, I want to use and the pistol shoots projectiles. So I guess there's a couple of ways that you can implement weapons, either by shooting projectiles, which I kind of like the projectile idea, or with the ray tracing, or line trace. So you can do a line trace. When it hits, at that point you can just call take damage. But since I also use oh, hey Emily, how are you? Hope you like what you're seeing. And welcome to the stream as well. I think the littlest of the watchers that I've had so far. So thanks so much. Okay. So Emily, hopefully you're enjoying the game development world. It's one of those things that there's so many things involved in it that it's tough to not have fun with it, you know. So okay, well, oh, you bet. Thank you so much. Well, let's take a look at the take damage and calling it from the pistol bullet projectile. So apologies for the spaghetti because it's a lot of it in here, and I do promise I intend to clean this up. But so what's happening, you get hit, and what I wanted to do in here is if the person, or if the oh, actually, and I'm stupid. I don't need to add that in, because whenever you call this apply point damage, my character should have something in here. I can't remember if it's in the child or if it's one of the parents. But in here there should be a any damage and point damage. So this is what I'm doing when I'm receiving damage. You know, I'm decrementing the player health, and then, you know, I'm just printing a little bit of detail on this is how much health you got left, just to get some info. But I can, the decrement player health is just in the player stats, so which just keeps track of how much health you got left, or if you need to be set to dead. And actually, when you die, I can show you that there's also like a little bit of a, you know, fallback animation for the main character as well. Alright, so decrement player health is going to tell you how much health you got left, and let's just change this to take damage. And you know, probably to take damage, I'm going to pass in some kind of value just so that I know how to adjust the timeline. But for now, let's see, in here in the timeline, I want to set the values a little bit better, just to match what I have for my collection. So let's take a look and see where are we with the collection itself. And where did I move that? Where is that? I thought I had it in one of the tabs open. There it is. Alright, so I want to see exactly what value I want to start off with this, just so that it makes sense on the on here. So you're going to start at, let's see, is it 0 that nothing shows? Yeah, so you're going to start at 0. There's nothing on the screen. Let's start the game and see if that applies. Okay, so there's nothing for you here, but then once you start bumping this up, then it kind of just starts getting redder and redder, and it's kind of so what I'm doing is at game time, which is cool, I'm just adjusting this one here to see what values I want to be at. So I'm guessing kind of bouncing between let's see, once you start getting a hit, kind of bouncing between 8 maybe and 8 and 20. I think that might be good just to get it started. So between 8 and 20. Let's add that into the timeline. So value, this is going to be 8, and then at the top we're going to set this to 20 and this one back to 8. And you know, I guess I could have made it so in the material where I'm using the texture intensity, there could have been like another multiply by a certain value so that I don't have to like jump between these kind of bigger values, but I think there's a little bit of better control this way. So now this one, let's kind of center this, and this is pretty cool with the timeline that you can center them like that. So we start at 8, we go to 20 and then back to 8, and then once it loops, hopefully that works. Let's take a look and see what happens when the enemy kind of shoots me. And it's happened already. Let me get this vehicle out of the way. Make sure that he's in a navigable area. It is. So yeah, I just have these enemy spawner points where the enemies just kind of come into the game world. So let's see what yeah, but I did not take damage. Let's see what happens when I actually do take damage. There we go. So now it starts to kind of flash, and of course based on your current life, it might just kind of get a little redder and redder, but right now it's doing its business pretty nicely. I kind of like that. The only thing that I need to figure out is, and I want to play with the bow a little bit, is why it did it at the start of the game, which was a little odd. That that's implemented, and that's where I'm taking damage on event point damage. So am I taking damage right at the beginning of the game? Oh, it actually might be because let's see, in the post process I'm not using the right the right material. So like something that I mentioned earlier, that I'm still using the screen damage, but again, once I'm through that collection, I'm overwriting the master material, so it's gonna change the instance as well. Well, so in that case, I'm just gonna grab the master here, screen damage, and apply it there. There we go. And we want to set it to 1 because we want it to influence it as much as possible. So now let's see. Well, it's still there. Oh, because it when it spawns, it managed to spawn right in my direction, so it's kind of getting into the mood at attacking me. Well, let me make sure one more time. This one should have been triggered. And I'm actually trying to think if the enemy itself, I believe, was still shooting projectiles and not just um, any damage is not connected, and then point damage is there. So the bullet projectile is applying the point damage, and that's it, as it should. So let me try and do a breakpoint here real quick and see if the enemy is shooting projectiles as well. Yeah, it is. But then why am I getting that little outline? And in here, the point damage is not being triggered. Huh. Let's see if I spawn my character somewhere else where it doesn't get hit, or at least is not that close to the enemy. Do I still get... yeah, I still get that. That's interesting. Why is that? Oh, yeah, that's... it's because of this. I forgot to change this to be 0. Duh. Alright. Well, let's try this again. Alright, so there we go. There's nothing right now. Now he sees me, and he misses a couple of times, and there you go. This one got hit, and now it's kind of starts flashing, and of course, the more it's going to decrease, the more I'm going to have to make it so that it flashes a little quicker, and also maybe adjust the intensity. But I think right now it's fine the way it is. You know, just on these edges. I don't want it to, you know, just kind of flood the screen too much. Alright, so that's actually great. Something useful. Always these streams are very useful to do because there's quite a lot of progress that gets done. But let's also take a look at something that's a little bit more level design towards the end of the stream. So last stream we've made one of the roads kind of crossing the world a little bit, and kind of driving the car around as well, which was kind of some fun fun things happening with the car flipping, or just I think it's something that has to do with the physics. I'd have to take a look at that. But there's something that has to be towards the end of this, right? So, and what I want to do now is actually create that tunnel entrance. So kind of the tunnel entrance is again one of the packages that I use off of the marketplace, which is I think it's the subway entrance, and I think it's still free, to be honest with you. It's a really good looking package, and let me see if I can find it. Unreal Engine Marketplace. Actually, well, so this is kind of the subway itself, which is just also free, and it's a really amazing looking package. But I was thinking there was, I thought it was called Subway at least. Because you don't, if you don't know about it, it's actually not only used for subway. Like I intend of using it as a tunnel because the walls are really nicely done, and it's pretty useful. So I think just by Decagon Studios, let's see, can we search for price low to high? Yeah, they have quite a few, like quite a lot of free assets. And for whatever reason, I thought, I guess that one might not be free. Um, my apologies. Might have been on the tunnel or something like that. I'm hoping it is still supported. That's a bummer if it's yeah, I guess I can't find it, but it was made by Decagon, and it's a really good looking asset pack. But apparently it's not around here anymore, or at least I'm probably not using the right parameters. So let's take a look at it. One thing that I've noticed sometimes is the shading kind of gets weird with some terrains. So it's as simple as just going into like Shift 2 for Unreal 4 and going into terrain painting, and it just kind of fixes that odd kind of dark shadows. I'm not sure where they come from or what happens, but maybe it's just on my end. You never know. So, and as soon as this one kind of wakes up, because it's a pretty big map, there we go. So entrance to the tunnel is going to be right here. One thing that I've done to this shader, since it wasn't done by the original developer, is to add the I think it might be under sculpt visibility. Yeah, so it didn't have like the visibility channel added onto it. And if you're interested in that, if you're just joining, let me see if I can. Again, this is not your typical shader, but the one thing that you want to add, or the one thing that you want to do, is you want to set the blend mode to masked, and then in your set of materials, so like this particular shader by the developer is he's using a lot of material functions, and it's got like they're passing in through material attributes. But you just want to look for a landscape visibility mask. So just right click and landscape visibility mask, and just plug that into the opacity mask for whatever material shader you have. This was not here before, so it was a little bit of digging, just figuring out in which one of these set material attributes I was able to add that in. But yeah, no, I don't want to change that because it's going to compile shaders. And now I have the ability to kind of dig through through the terrain, right? So I can place the entrance to the tunnel. Now the one thing that you'd have to be careful, I believe, once you have this in, if you go to and you want to delete vegetation, like I still have some floating vegetation here, so I'm gonna try and do it like this and select everything, and then as you can see, the brush goes through the terrain because you kind of cut out the visibility. So luckily for me, I have the mesh for the road, so it's not going to be too bad. Oops, and I did not want to paint, I want to delete. But and oh, it's going to take a little bit of time. So yeah, you might want to delete the vegetation on the terrain before putting a hole in the terrain. There we go. So I believe it's shift. Yeah, shift changes it to erase. So let's see if we can erase some of this, which is kind of a bummer because I think these are, oh yeah, these are the grass maps, and doesn't look like they get removed along with the terrain visibility. So let me go back into here and change the visibility. You can hold down shift and then paint. So change the visibility back so I can get rid of those all these assets that get painted through the grass map. And this particular layer, let me hide the vegetation, or actually I'm just gonna leave it. This particular layer does not have a grass map, so I'm gonna use that to paint all the way around the opening of the tunnel. Alright, so let's go into shift 2, paint, and then paint the path. So I think right around here is where I'm gonna make the opening. Down here as well. I think that should cover it as much as possible so it doesn't, like, you don't see vegetation hanging through the ceiling. And before I go and remove the terrain or cut the terrain out, I am going to go and delete some of this stuff from around here and here. So there it is. And kind of some of the stuff that's on the road that I didn't get to, especially on this section. There. Alright, so now we have a blank kind of canvas here to just cut it out. Alright, so let's go to sculpt and paint visibility right around here. Alright, I think that should cut it. So I'm going to use that asset that I mentioned and bring it in. It's pretty nice because it's already set up with very nice blueprint. I just want to save it real quick because it's a pretty big map, and oh yeah, and to me this is what happens sometimes, where it happens when I save and I may change it to the terrain. It just kind of becomes blocky for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I haven't seen anybody else that got this issue, and then you get these weird shadows. But like I said, just going into terrain mode, and I think it got saved. But yeah, so see, there's still a little bit of oddity going on there. So I'm just gonna go into sculpt and do a little bit of a smooth, and that usually fixes it. There we go. Alright, so back into mesh placement. Let me find the subway tunnel is what it's called, and I'm gonna drag in. I want to actually, in my levels, I'm going to create a new empty level, and I'm going to call this tunnel entrance. Alright, so on my tunnel entrance I'm going to be adding this particular blueprint, and now the blueprint is set up that you have train tracks, right? Because it's coming from a subway kind of tunnel. but with the road, they get covered, so should be fine. Alright, so now with this one in place, I can make it a little bit bigger just to cover that whole entrance. And of course, since I don't have a subway, I'm just gonna hide the tracks. Yeah, as you can see, this is what's nice about it. It's um, it's a very good looking asset. So I'm gonna go ahead and set these to not be visible, and I think I can also do the same for this section here. So there we go. We have a really nice out of the box um, tunnel. And also one thing that I've never tried is setting up blueprints on a spline, but I don't see why that wouldn't work, right? So let's try doing that. Oh, and I guess, yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed with saving often, but and running into this issue with the terrain. So now that we have the blueprint set up, let's try and add a spline. And this is where the part that I'm not entirely sure if yeah, so it only works, I believe it seems to only work with a static mesh. Now that blueprint, I believe you can also collapse into a mesh. So yeah, I wish it was a little bit of a better way to do it. So I don't know why, for some reason I thought that this one was set up that you can work it out as a spline, but maybe it isn't. So that's a bummer. Anyways, let's start with what we had. Because in the end, I'm just gonna set this to be flat, and then I'll make the road follow it, which is, since the road is a terrain spline, it's gonna be a lot easier. Alright, so let's make this bigger, just kind of like that. We'll do some dressing around the edges so that it we can cut a bigger hole in the terrain. So just about there. I guess it can be made a little bit bigger. Alright, so that looks pretty good as the entrance. I'm gonna push it back a little bit, and so I'm trying to figure out if I want to make kind of an arch here, or, and I think I might just do that. I'm gonna create like a because there's entrances that are to tunnel that are like at an angle, and they're like the vertical types as well. So I think the vertical type might be just the easiest one to do. And at this point, this is where I'd be working with exporting, especially kind of this archway, into Blender, and creating a mesh that would cover this, so that I'd be able to just set it in front of this entrance. So now that we have the entrance in place, I'm gonna adjust because I didn't put it on a grid, which was my mistake. So I'm gonna try and adjust these a little bit so that I can set it up a little bit easier. So there's that, and like that. So now I'm just going to turn on grid mode so I can move these a little bit easier. So whenever I copy this and put another one in here, they can line up, especially if it's like a modular asset. They would line up like that. There. All right, so yeah, that like I was saying, it's always good to use some of the marketplace assets because you have already all this set up that it involves a lot of time. Like besides the fact that it's a really nice looking asset, placement of piping, cabling and all that takes time. So okay, let me quickly adjust the spline here, and I'll export a section of this into Blender, and we'll do a quick I'm not sure what you would call it, like a brace, or what you would call this entrance here, and to kind of hide the way this is, the terrain and everything else. Because you can also do this with like rocks and that kind of like a natural type of formation, but I don't think it would fit in too well. So okay, let's see. I wanted to adjust the spline here a little bit. Kind of like that. And this one I believe might be a little bit, because it was following the terrain, so it got a little bit skewed. So let's see how we can make it work. Just like that. Okay, so that's pretty decent for starters. I might just the other thing that I might do, and it might be a little bit better actually now that I think of it, I might just instead of relying on a landscape spline here, I'm just gonna end it somewhere around here. And whoopsie, what just happened? Whoa. Well, that's an oddity. Did the thing just move the... Oh, yeah, I forgot. So the terrain is currently um, being sculpted by the splines. So I did not think of that. Okay. Well, let's try and fix it. So what I'm gonna do is cover this back up and cut the opening somewhere around here. Oops, sorry about that. Hey, Skewed. Hopefully I said that right. I know a little bit of French, but so I would say best uh, the best course of action is the Unreal videos, because that's how I learned it as well, just by watching the Unreal videos. They are very well made, and of course there's also like the entire community um, that is very active, and um, it's there's so many experts out there. Like, I'm far from it when it comes to creating maps and having like a series of tutorials to do the maps. Hey, Severin. Um, so I guess you can call the if you're thinking of this road, this is a spline. That's part of the um, that is part of the terrain. But going into like inside of the tunnel, that's where I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this as a just as a mesh. So because I have a little bit better control over its placement, especially like it's a little bit more accurate, right? Like if you've just joined the stream, I've had some issues with aligning the the spline to set it straight, right? To just kind of because you know it's a you know with the spline it's kind of tough to get things to like be perfectly aligned. So that's why when I use like cables and other things inside of like or you know ventilation system inside of the my bunker, for example, I use just the meshes, and then you can at the end you can merge them all into one piece. So you know you get like a lot less draw calls, but that's where levels come in. So you can also go that route. But yeah, the road in here it's actually just as a static mesh. Because I think the well this one would be an actor, right? Because it's a blueprint, but the road is just a static mesh. And welcome to the stream, by the way. Thank you for joining. So yeah, so see, this is what I'm intending on doing here. I just want to make sure that this one is at 130, so I guess this one can go like that. Just make it a little bit bigger. So there we go. And the transition can always be kind of tweaked with some decals. I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, this one looks a lot better, and I have a lot easier control over it. Like I can just move it here, and you know it's all flat, right? Like that. And save because um, hey Kahit, well the game name is actually the name of the stream. It's called On Your Own, because you know I kind of literally developed this on my own, and the characters on their own. So that's what I thought the name should be. And yeah, it's an action adventure type game. The way you start it, you kind of drop into the world through a plane crash, and it's you start from there. You know, you get in touch with the friendly NPCs in the game, and they give you the missions that you need to carry out. Yes, and you discover the story, like how you got there. Oh, Seren, thank you so much for stopping by, and um, yeah, if you have any questions, you know, and I'm streaming, feel free to ask. I can at least direct you in the right or point you to the right resources. That's the least I can do. But yeah, you have a great afternoon as well. Okay, so what I wanted to do is actually create the entrance here to end the stream today, and yeah, let's do that. This one is right here, so I want to find this particular mesh to get an outline and export it. And what we'll do is also quickly look at that Blender import plug or yeah Blender import plugin and how that works, because it's literally as simple as just dragging in the .blend file. So it can't get easier than that. Well, I'm gonna export this real quick. Let me make sure I got the right file. Yeah, there it is. So I want this because I want to make sure that I'm getting like kind of the outline of this and just build, you know, build it out. All right. And so this one's the right one. I'm gonna go ahead and export it. And let's see. I'm gonna place this in. Where do I want to place it? Buildings maybe, and let's call it tunnel. Maybe it's industrial kind of thing, but let's start there. Alright, so the one thing that I need to mention is that for the Blender import you need to use something above Blender 3. And myself, I'm used to um, the previous versions a lot more. There's some aspects of it that I like better, but hey, you know, it works, so I'm happy about that. Okay, well, we have this in here, so what I'm gonna do is let's quickly grab these um, uh, this kind of loop that goes around it. So let's just scale this up, and then I'll scale this down a little bit. And now what I want to do is try to adjust or extrude them out some more. Yeah, one of the things that I hate about the new Blender is that it's tough. Well, and I couldn't figure out a quick way to do it. It's kind of a pain to see where the normals are at right off the bat. Somebody coming from Blender 2.7, it's not very intuitive to figure where those are. So there's definitely a lot of kludgy things about Blender 3 coming from Blender 2.9 and having the speed that I have there. Um, you know, but in the end it works, so that's all that matters. Okay, well, let's do what I'm gonna do is also do the top of it. So this one's gonna be this face here. So extrude this back, and we'll kind of go that far, I guess. That should be good enough. Alright, let's kind of mark some seams around here so we can do the UV unwrap. I guess you can always do like the smart UV project, but I just want to do seams because it makes it easier on me. Yeah, so some of the things that I'm still getting used to is being able to show, like if you do an unwrap on this, you know, you can kind of tell, you know, they look okay-ish to begin with for you know, for the starting point. But with Blender 2. So and prior to 3, you could just add a grid here and just set this to be texture solid, and you'd see the grid. You'd be able to place them and kind of adjust the textile density. But now it's that part has turned into a pain, at least for me. I'm looking at things online, but I can't seem to figure it out. So it's just it wasn't very a very nice modification in my view, but it is what it is. It's just a little rant, I guess. So let's add a edge split in here. I'm hoping that this can be done. And let's see, the other part is kind of tough to figure out where the shading is with this version. So that's why sometimes I end up, I think it's here at the top. At least I thought it was. I end up doing things in Blender 2.8 and just using that one, but I wanted to show you that little plugin. So if you're more used with Blender 3 than I am, then you can use it a lot easier than I am. Alright, well anyways, I'll just leave it like this. Let's go and take a look. This one is in here. So as you can see, it's gonna the outline is gonna cover it, which is what I was looking for. Now the other part, what I think I might need to do, so I'm gonna remove this because I'm not sure how it behaves when you you have multiple collection with this Blender add-on plugin. So one thing that I want to do is let's save this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this real quick, and cap entrance maybe. I guess that makes has a good name for it. And back into Unreal. I'm gonna go ahead and in here, let's see, we have on the props, is it props or is it I guess it's, let's call it on the meshes. So right in here, I'm just gonna drag the blend file. So I'm gonna go ahead and import it. So you know, I'm slowly getting more accustomed to Blender 3, but like I said, there is definitely some frustration points. Like for example, as you can see right here, the normals are flipped. So let's fix that. And hopefully that did it, because I have no way there. I know there's like, I was able to dig through a bunch of, it's not obvious, that's the problem. Through a bunch of like different clicks to figure out how to show normals. So unfortunately I don't have that right off the top of my head right now. But it's as easy as just saving this and then, you know, re-importing. Again, I don't have auto, I think it's like an auto re-import enable with Unreal, so that's why it's not quite there, or at least it doesn't do it automatically. That's the only difference. Okay, so there it is. That's our entrance, and as you can see, that's the one thing that I'm having a hard time figuring out. You know, kind of setting the shading to be smooth and then adding that edge split modifier. So for now, this will be I'll figure it out offline. Okay. Well, so this is that, and let's add this into the level. Actually, first I wanted to sample the particular material that this surface is using, and apply it to the tunnel cap. It's probably going to look pretty weird because of the scale of the UVs. So let's add this in. See, I think this is at 130, this one's at 130, perfect. Scale it up. Maybe a little more. Yeah, so there we go. That's much better. Now, the thing that I mentioned was, you know, there's like these kind of things around here that what are we going to do about this? And this can be definitely covered a lot easier with some rocks or some kind of natural meshes. Of course, the other thing that you can do is you can edit this, you know, a mesh like this to actually include a top that's using the same texture as the terrain, and to also extend the bottom so that it's also still just either using the concrete or you can apply a different material to it. So right now I'm gonna just keep it simple, and I'm gonna gonna do this. I'm gonna just grab a few of these faces, probably down to here. We'll see how this looks. Maybe one more. And I'll do the same on this side. I think it's right around where it should be. I'm gonna expand that out. And then let's just scale on the z-axis like that. Kind of bring it down a little bit. So it's kind of a, looks like an entrance that I would, I guess, think it looks realistic. So you know, right off the top of my head, not looking at any reference photos, this is what I came up with. Now let's do a quick unwrap just to have some kind of, we can apply some texture here. That's that. And that. Okay. And now it's as easy as just saving. Hopefully all the normals are in place. And then re-importing. And there we go. I guess they could have been moved this way a little bit more, but at this point, what I can add, you know, there can be like a kind of a rock or something placed down here, and also just to kind of cover this side. And that side. Alright. So yeah, like I said, I'll fix this offline. The kind of the UV unwrap. I might just go to my old trusted Blender 2.79 and do it there until I figure out how to, if there's a way to easily set this to texture solid and see where the placement of the UVs are at. But until that, so we have this. One thing that I might just change this, because I think it, once I extrude it, they got skewed a little bit, even though it just kind of looks that way, but they didn't really. You know, looking at it from, you know, from like a perspective angle, it just seems like these corners are like, you know, flaring out, you know, kind of going out in these directions, but maybe it's just me. Hey Venom, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Yes, so let's add a couple of maybe some rocks or something, and again, this is just a, I'll fix this as well. But this this Nordic conifer biome has quite a few really good looking assets that kind of fit in with the rest of this pretty nicely, and something that I couldn't find on with the Megascans. So let's take a look. I know one of them is like a cliff kind of thing, maybe. I think that's what it was called. Cliff moss. Yeah, let's see. Where is this bad boy? Oh, it's over there. I'm actually just gonna bring it here. Yeah, so there we go. I guess this could have been used for what I had there. Anyways, there it is. So one on one side, and like I said, at this point you can probably cut it even a little bit more out of the terrain, like this little section here. Oops, no, I wanted to delete it, like so. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Hey Dark Shoes, welcome, how are you? There, like that, and maybe this can be, I can fill that in with some trash or some other things like that. And now let's just do, maybe we can add one on this side as well. Yeah, this is actually a really cool mesh, because you Um, it definitely breaks up that kind of like a slanted wall or vertical kind of setup. So just like that. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been streaming now for quite a little bit, and I'm happy to see so many people that join the stream. I usually get a small showing of maybe three, four, five people at the most, but um, I guess streaming right around noontime seems to be bringing up quite a bit more people, which that's awesome. So yeah, just doing a little bit of level design for my project. Earlier, I've shown some of the work that I've done with implementing the bow, having the showing like the amount of ammo that you have with the bow, and that was a lot of fun to I've worked on that over the week over the past week, and that was quite interesting playing around with projectiles and trying to get that to work as realistically as possible, I guess. Um, so yeah. Um, yeah, and that's one of the things, don't get discouraged, because I think a lot of people um, can you can get discouraged easily. Oh, come on, I gotta undo the shift. You can get discouraged easily just because of the complexity, and then you see some people doing some kind of crazy stuff. Like I run into that constantly. Like I see some people out there that just like it makes you feel like, oh man, I didn't know this is possible, or how can I do that as well? So it's a matter of learning. There's people that have many years ahead of any of us. So that's why um, I'm like, I've been going at this for years, and coming from CryEngine, if anybody of you heard of it, and moving into Unreal maybe 4 years ago. Yeah, it's a process. So just like with anything. But yeah, that's the thing of it. Just keep at it, and if it's something that you like, that's the one thing that for myself, I'm really happy that it's something um, that I truly enjoy doing. Like so it's yeah. Indeed, yeah, you got to start somewhere. Hey, Dark Effects. Oh yeah. Well, welcome to Unreal. That was I really enjoyed my time with CryEngine. The problem was I think it was back in 2018, and they were about to release like 5. CryEngine 5.5 or so, 5.6. So they kept on postponing the release, and it kept on getting postponed and kept on getting postponed and so on. And at one point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give Unreal like a month and see where it gets me. And literally in 1 month, I was able to do more than I did in years with and learn as well. That was the main thing. Kind of be able to learn um, all that stuff. So, and I'm Unreal all the way. Well, and yeah, dark shoes. That's the one thing about that I think is great to have with game development. And I think the problem that was the problem with CryEngine. You know, progress was so slow that you would just become frustrated and you couldn't figure out how this or that was being done because nobody else had done it. You know, because you know it's pretty much with CryEngine you're stuck if you don't have a lot of experience. You're kind of stuck um, in how it's being done, right? So that was what my frustration was, and that's why I ended up going to Unreal. So and yeah, I've definitely tried. Like I've in the beginning, I've tried using Unity as well, and while I really enjoyed Unity, I think the first time I looked at game engines, I was more into, oh, let's see which one looks cooler. And at that time, CryEngine was the one that had the better rendering. Nowadays, everything is on par. You can get the same results throughout all engines. Um, so that was kind of my mistake at the time. I looked at the one that was shinier, right? And after a while, I realized that, okay, I need to focus on actually doing mechanics and all that, because it's not just about shininess. And luckily, I decided to move to Unreal. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. That's Dark Shoes. You're on point with that. I feel the same way. Well, in Venom, I think no matter what kind of game you make, to me, um, even if say I sell like 5 copies of this project, if those 5 people enjoy what I've made, that's um I'm um I'm happy. So yeah, it's to me that's what matters. It's like one of those if you've seen that game that movie Ready Player, is it Ready Player One? Yeah, the guy that says at the end is like I can't remember the creator of the game of the world. He said, "Well, I hope you enjoyed my game." That's where I'm at. Hey, Angry Rebel. So the way I'm doing my beginning of the game sequence with the plane that flies in is I just have it move on a spline. So if you look up, there's like quite a few videos on the internet for your plane, or for your chopper, sorry. Just look up setting up a spline and moving an item on a spline. So at that point you can just have your propeller spinning on your helicopter, and it just follows the spline kind of based on specific speed that you want. So dark shoes, um, it's tough because like I'm not. This is not my full-time job, right? This is a hobby for me. So I think a lot of when you're looking at getting into the game industry, it's good to have a focus. I think from what I've talked to like other friends of mine that are in the game industry, it's good to have a focus on like, because like game dev is a very broad option. Like what I'm doing right now is game dev, right? There's like animations, there's interactions, there's combat, um, there's like the facial stuff, NPCs, AI. So I think that encompasses game dev. But if you think of just animation, that's one subject out of many. So I think if you want to go the route of working in the game industry, at least in the beginning, it might be worth to do to have one subject that you are extremely good at. It's good to be good at everything, but it's tough. Like I like to call myself somebody that knows a lot, but it's not a master of anything. So I'm I know enough to be dangerous, kind of thing. Like to mess things up, make things, but I'm not a master of blueprinting. I'm not a master of gameplay or a master of animation. I know how to mess around with them, but um, so if you wanna, I think if you wanna go the route of working in the game industry, I think having a focus would definitely help. Um, yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. If you look at the postings, even if you look at the postings from like game development companies, you'll see that they have a specific thing. You know, yeah, there might be a game director that might know a little bit of every single thing, and his background is in animation or something, but they've been with the company for so long that they've made it to be a game director or something. But you'll see like they're pretty specialized postings, like animation or 3D, environment art, 3D modeling, texturing, and all that. Gameplay design, and they're focused on gameplay design. So I guess that's where you need to decide which one of these disciplines you like best and focus on that. And I think once you have the in, once you're in with the game development company, it's probably a lot easier to move around depending on, hey, you know what? I want to develop my animation more. I'm proficient with all the environment art, but I want to be a better animator. And then I think at that point you can start working with some of the other members of the company. But to get in, yeah, I think it might be best to be a master of something, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. So Venom. Oh, that's awesome if you publish two games. uh, and that's the one thing that you gotta be you gotta be able to take criticism, right? When you make something, when you're gonna publish and get people to like play something, making sure that you can take it. I think that's a big thing. Like I'm nervous myself. Like sometimes I feel like I could have released at least this part of the project. And yeah, it's like 10-15 minutes of gameplay, but why am I not doing it? And just kind of, oh, I want to add this, I want to add that. I can't just release it like this. There's this other part that I need to add. So yeah, it just kind of stretches it out. So I think Angry Rebel, what you can do is, does it? Do you mean like the plane? Because I know I'm running into kind of the same thing to some extent. Um, like it's just flying on that on the spline. I think there's, because you can also set the rotation of the object to be based on the spline itself. So not just like the location of it that it goes along the spline, but also the rotation. So it follows the spline. Like if there's like a point on the spline that is rotated, it would follow that. And so that might give you a little bit of a more natural movement. And I think the other thing you can do, I think there's like a few packages on the marketplace specific for this kind of flying vehicles movement, and maybe one of those could come in handy. I'm not sure if they move them based off of spline, or um, they might have some kind of an AI setup, and maybe that AI also has a little bit also takes into account like a more realistic movement of the helicopter. Well, yeah. So there's this whole thing with the realism, and that's the thing. That's the thing with games. You know, there can be a realistic looking game. There can be a semi-realistic, like kind of stylized realism. I think is what it's called. Like, you know, if you think of Dishonored, you know, like Dishonored, I think was more of like a stylized realism. If you know, you looked at the NPCs and they had that kind of like a Popeye looking structure to them. So not as realistic as, you know, Call of Duty. Um, and then you have, you know, games like not what is that, Stray, you know, with the cat that just walks around, which is, the styling of that is amazing, which I'm like, oh wow, that, you know, when combined that with the lighting, it just makes it look so awesome, you know, for some of these kind of stylized games that look so nice. You know, I think because realism is easy. To be honest with you, that's how I kind of think of it at some point. It's there's a lot of resources for it, you know, when it comes to 3D environments and all that. A lot of templates for shooters out there, and so when it comes to kind of stylized things, there's not as many resources, and you have to kind of um, make the gameplay feel that is stylized as well. That's kind of how I look at it. You know, maybe some experts might see it differently, but yeah. Well, so anyways, um, I think I have this done for now. At least it kind of looks okay to me. It's in place. You know, I just need to do some tweaks. But you know, out of just having a hole cut in the terrain to this, it's definitely getting closer. So yeah, I've been over, oh, a couple of hours now. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. Really happy to see so many folks that joined the stream today. And there's going to be another one next week. Oh, thank you so much. The thing is, I um, I can't take any credit. This is the map that came with the Nordic conifer package that's from the marketplace. I'm just tweaking it. You know, like I wanted to start from a point that's a good place to start, and this one is a really good place to start. You know, both size wise and kind of terrain wise, because there's some that are just really flat and I don't really like that, and this one is a really good place. So yeah, I can't take credit, but yeah, it's you know, in the end it's probably not going to look like this, you know, with everything, but yeah, this is just the starting map for with, you know, with my lighting setup uh, for the um, for the Nordic conifer biome. So yeah, there's probably going to be some tweaks, you know, a bunch of trees that are going to be removed just to kind of cut back on memory usage and all that. But yeah, I appreciate that. So um, I'm depending on if it starts to rain today or not, and I get to do any kind of outdoorsy activities, which is good to do. I recommend it. I might try and do another stream later on today, and hopefully continue on with the tunnel. So hopefully I'll see you guys later on if you're still up. I know there's people from all over the world, and I wish you guys a great rest of your Sunday, and great week coming up. And I hope to see you around. And thank you so much, Dark Shoes. That's one of the things that I never really say during the streams. Hey, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and do whatever, something else. But if people feel like they see something interesting and that they like, then by all means. Hey, Angry Rebel, thank you as well. And I do have a Discord as well. If you're interested, let me just post it here. It's the Discord for this project, and there's a few other people on there. There's like a game dev channel on there as well. So if anybody's interested, you can also find me in there, and you can. Let's see, how do I create an invite so that it never expires? Generate one. Okay, so yeah, here's the invite, but and Mac Hardy, yeah, Subway Tunnel, that's the one. Exactly, that's the one that I'm using. The package. So that's my Discord channel. If you're interested, I can always try and at least point you in the right direction if you have questions. But yeah, I hope to see you all on the next one, and I really appreciate you stopping by. That was great to have so many people on and actually have some discussion. And because usually I just feel like I'm rambling on myself. um, so awesome. All right, y'all take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much, guys.